Hello and welcome to the best Microsoft Ignite Into Focus. This time we're focusing on my favorite topic, data and AI. I'm Seth Juarez. I'm a program manager in the Azure AI Platform Group. I am a tall Hispanic male wearing a burgundy shirt and some blue jeans. I'm joined by my boss, Eric Boyd, so I can't mess this up. And also, we're super glad to be in the Microsoft Learn TV studios.
Glad to be here, Seth, and of course, glad to have you on the team. Seth is one of my favorite employees.
At least top 200-ish.
He's not the favorite, but he's one of my favorites.
All right. So let's start with who you are and what you do.
Thanks. I'm Eric Boyd, and I lead engineering for Azure AI. I'm a white man. I'm wearing a polo shirt, blue jeans, and glasses. And, at Azure AI, we build all the tools and systems to serve all of our customers and even everyone in Microsoft.
All right, so let's start first with what's new at Ignite for data and AI.
Well, I'm sure all of you watched the keynotes from Scott and Satya. There were so many new services and capabilities announced in the data and AI space. Let me highlight the four biggest ones here. First, we announced the preview of SQL Server 2022. It is the most cloud-enabled release of SQL Server yet. It includes capabilities like disaster recovery to Azure, seamless operational data analytics, and full integration with Azure Purview. Next, we announced the preview of Data Explorer Compute Engine in Synapse, which enables streaming and log analytics. We also announced the GA of Azure Synapse Link for Dataverse and a preview of it for SQL Server 2022, enabling customers to get immediate insights from more of their operational and line of business data workloads. Add to that the recently GA'd Azure Purview, and this covers a lot of landscape in data, including on-premises, operational data, cloud-based analytics workload, and data governance. On the AI side, we announced the preview of Azure OpenAI Service built in partnership with OpenAI to enable advanced language scenarios. If you couldn't catch the session on OpenAI from Dom yesterday, I really encourage you to watch that. So these are just the big ones. In addition to these, there are tens of new features and capabilities made available leading up to Ignite this week.
What AI trends should we be looking for on the horizon?
So in our work with customers, we see four key trends emerging. First, we're seeing enormous energy and traction towards the creating of state-of-the-art, large, complex AI models that can be applied to multiple tasks, not just one. OpenAI's GPT-3 is a good example of that, with language comprehension at its core, enabling hundreds of scenarios. Second, the renewed investments in model efficiency and deployment flexibility. When we work with large language models like GPT-3 or Turing, etc., we need to find a way to serve them efficiently in enterprise scenarios and flexibly to manage production requirements like data security and residency. Third, the evolution of the AI hardware and software stack. You hear about FPGAs and ASICs, and there's still all this continued tweaking of the latest general-purpose CPUs and GPUs, and the alignment of the software frameworks to extract every ounce of the hardware's capacity. Again, a great example is the AI supercomputer on Azure that Microsoft built and OpenAI is using to train models with billions, if not trillions, of parameters. And finally, responsible AI. This is one aspect of AI that we're just getting started on, with early steps in model transparency and fairness. There is so much for us to do in this space to ensure that AI is used responsibly and can benefit every member of society. I think the release of the Azure OpenAI Service is a great example of how these trends become real products and how we at Microsoft are thinking about bringing these advanced AI capabilities into the hands of our customers. And really, it's our customers who are doing a fantastic job of bringing these AI products and services to real-life use cases. As you can clearly see, hundreds of customers are leveraging AI on Azure to transform their business. Whether it's building AI-led solutions to infuse intelligence into their apps, or using the robust Azure Machine Learning platform to optimize their business processes and provide their audiences a personalized experience, enterprises are innovating in novel ways with AI. EY, for example, is using Azure AI to build a platform that extracts data from invoices, speeding contract comparison and helping to find anomalies in their standard process. For a consulting and tax auditing firm like EY, these AI capabilities are at the heart of revolutionizing their business. NBA is another great example. They've built Court Optics using Azure AI capabilities to turn billions of data points into insightful metrics about players and games. And these insights enhance the NBA fans' engagement with the game and the league. Progressive Insurance, one of the largest auto insurance suppliers in the US, have used Azure AI to build the Flow chatbot, which takes care of mission-critical business needs like answering customers' questions on various processes and providing personalized quotes. These are just a few of the many customers innovating with AI to deliver their experiences to users. And all of these customers have some common needs from their AI platform. As we talked to them, we saw that they really needed three things to fully leverage AI for their businesses. First, customers need AI that is production ready. It is so important to ensure that enterprises can build AI solutions for their mission-critical workloads, whether it's the scalability and quality of AI or the ability for these enterprises to be able to secure and monitor their AI solutions to follow their IT protocols. AI shouldn't need any exceptions. It needs to be ready for all of these enterprise requirements. Second, keeping the critical employees in your AI teams happy is super important. These people are in high demand across their organization, and companies want to do everything possible to enable their productivity. They need tools that will enable AI teams to simply collaborate and really help them deliver on high-priority tasks. And finally, they need ways to implement AI responsibly. This is the basis of everything that we do with AI, from knowing that the ready-to-use models are built with the right data and observable attributes, to having the same tool set available for their own data science teams to use to ensure that they're building their models with the right level of transparency, fairness, and privacy requirements. The AI services need to encourage the right practices with AI. And these customer needs, they've been informing our investments on Azure AI from the very beginning. Azure AI itself is a set of services that are built on Azure and deeply integrated with Azure's data, app development, compute services, and tools. To get the most productivity, we encourage people to start as high in the stack as they can and then go as low as they need. At the top level, we offer task-specific AI services, easing the need for developers to stitch multiple AI capabilities for some common scenarios. Moving down, the Azure Cognitive Services, now also including the OpenAI service, in those we provide developers the most comprehensive set of domain-specific pre-trained models across vision, speech, language, decision-making, and now OpenAI. Then if you need something more customized to your business, Azure Machine Learning provides ML practitioners a platform to build, train, and deploy their models. Again, meeting the most comprehensive enterprise requirements, driving AI team productivity, and supporting responsible AI practices across the board. The philosophy of starting high and going as low as you need, that's built all across our full Microsoft stack. Azure AI is available through higher-level Microsoft products like the Power Platform, Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, and available through our partner ISV solutions across the industry. This helps Azure AI drive productivity even further, reaching citizen developers, analysts through low-code, no-code experiences in the Power Platform, and business users in Dynamics 365 and Microsoft 365.
It feels like you're saying that the Azure AI stack is just basically super robust that helps people on the full spectrum, and Microsoft itself leverages that full stack. Do you have an example of something that we've done that uses this stack?
I mean, we have many, but let's take the example of OpenAI. Okay. Even though it's now offered as a service within Azure AI portfolio, it started off as a partner wanting to leverage Azure. So starting right at the bottom of the stack, OpenAI leverages the state-of-the-art infrastructure that Azure offers for AI, including the most powerful supercomputer, AI supercomputer on the planet. It uses clusters with hundreds of the latest A100 GPUs with InfiniBand, and then it's inferenced on the same Azure Machine Learning platform our customers can use for their models. Further up the stack, it now serves as a foundation model for many of the advanced language scenarios like summarization and content generation as part of the cognitive services. And beyond Azure, it's also embedded into PowerFX and Power BI for low-code generation alongside GitHub Copilot for augmenting professional developers. So that really exemplifies the true power of Azure AI, using tools and services to build AI solutions that can be used across your apps and solutions, whether Microsoft-centric or for third parties.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to use that for all of the customer conversations now that I'm in the same group. So, Eric, we talked about how customers use Azure at a high level, use Azure AI at a high level. Should we dig a little deeper and maybe give our audience a few more examples?
I think we have to, Seth.
Okay.
Let's take the Azure AI stack and talk about a few more examples at each of those layers. So if we start at the top, the Azure Applied AI Services. Azure Applied AI Services are designed to accelerate development of AI solutions for common business processes. These use the underlying cognitive services and other task-specific models, while also allowing the customer to extend the service with their own custom models to meet their specific needs. So we have 6 of these right now across categories like knowledge mining, form processing, and conversational AI. Over the last few months, we've made great progress announcing the GA of HealthBot and Metrics Advisor, alongside bringing the preview of the Video Analyzer and semantic search capabilities. So many enterprise customers like Howden, Lufthansa, Renault, Samsung, they're using these for various use cases. And there have been some key announcements for the applied AI services. We announced added support for more than 50 languages for semantic search, which brings advanced machine learning techniques to help understand user intent and contextually rank the most relevant results. Form Recognizer also expanded language reach by 49 new languages, and it now supports over 120 languages. Additionally, we introduced new capabilities like signature detection in Form Recognizer and a new studio experience to accelerate the development process. Next, we have the Azure Cognitive Services. Azure's cognitive services provide developers with a wide range of out-of-the-box pre-trained intelligent capabilities across computer vision, speech-to-text and text-to-speech, language services that can help automate sentiment analysis and entity extraction, and decision services like anomaly detection. And of course, now we have OpenAI with it as well. These are all pre-trained models that can be customized with your data. With Azure Cognitive Services, we recently announced the expansion of our language capabilities to reach 100 languages. Also, we announced the GA of customer neural voice capabilities. So again, you see amongst the hundreds of customers who trust and use these services and build mission-critical solutions for their businesses with them. And we continue to bring new innovations into cognitive services. We already talked about the new Azure OpenAI service. We've now enabled 100+ languages for the translator. Additionally, we've united text analytics, Q&A maker, and language understanding into a single offering under Azure Cognitive Services for Language and introduced a new language studio. And then we're also making speaker recognition capability generally available.
This is great. I mean, there's a ton of stuff and a ton of value that I'm hearing. Are folks using these services?
I mean, let's hear from one of our customers themselves. Sonal's in a conversation with Amit Mistry from Ecolab.
Hi, Amit. Welcome. I'm so glad that you could join us today. So I know that Ecolab is vested into solving global challenges like sustainability. Can you tell us a bit more about Ecolab's mission?
So Ecolab delivers solutions, insight, and personalized service to advance food safety, clean and safe environments, optimize water and energy use for our millions of customers over 100 countries.
That's great. And how does the Ecolab Digital Center and the work that you do support this mission?
Yeah, at Ecolab Digital Center, we lead all the digital transformation at Ecolab. We provide technology services, we provide expertise to enable, improve productivity, and accelerate digital innovations.
I see. And there's definitely a lot of opportunities for AI at Ecolab. But I know that your team has done some amazing work with knowledge mining. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, our field sales were facing difficulty to find the relevant documents when they visit the customers for maintenance and repair. And sometimes it took hours to get on calls with the customer support and get the relevant information. So our team took a challenge and we use Azure Cognitive Services and Cognitive Search to transform, build, and index data for our 10,000 different documents. And then we use cognitive service like language understanding service to recognize the intent and extract entities out of it to query the respective data. And then apply cognitive search to retrieve the relevant documents. So this made our search experience conversational for EVA, that is Ecolab Virtual Assistant.
So that appears to be quite the intelligent virtual assistant. What kind of impact are you seeing so far with this technology for your field associates and for the business?
Now our field associates are able to get fast and reliable way to locate the relevant information on product and equipment documents. Now we have thousands of users with millions of sessions and they exchange millions of messages. This has helped our institutional business with 12% drop in field support calls, 40% drop in IT support calls, and most importantly, as a business, we can get insight into associate support's need. We have also scaled this China region, and they were successfully able to deploy this technology. This equipment catalog engineering component is reusable in multiple other projects. So that will be a huge win for Ecolab where they have data and they can leverage this data for other business purposes.
That appears to be a great success. But deploying such a large solution across the entire Ecolab global organization must require secure design that can scale effectively. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach there?
Yes, we have designed the enterprise-ready architecture and deployment with DevSecOps, considering the high availability and reliability with Azure AI services. We are able to secure using HTTPS, transport level security version 1.2, across services. Firewall configuration at Azure front door and also enables the user level security using Azure Active Directory version 2.0. So with this, it's take care of end-to-end security aspect of the entire solution.
That sounds like a very thoughtful approach. Thank you for sharing that, Amit. So what are you looking forward to next?
Yeah, we are very happy and we are expanding this innovation solution across the globe. We are also looking forward to scale EVA to MS Team and other omnichannels, where our Ecolab employees or a field sales or anybody who is trying to use this technology, they can use this technology across multiple channels.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much for sharing the thoughtful approach today here with us, Amit. It's really great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Amit, for joining us at Ignite. It's a pleasure to work with you and the Ecolab team.
I mean, this was awesome.
It was, yeah, definitely. And that's the key part for them, is that they're building something that's core to their business, right? Like it's without having to compromise on security and governance needs, like it's really critical to them.
So we saw cognitive search, cognitive services, and bot service in action here. What other solutions can folks create with Azure AI services?
I mean, there are so many, but why should I talk about it when we can see them in action? So we had Aysegul record a demo of some of the speech capabilities built using Azure AI. Can we roll that demo?
Hi, everyone. Today, I would like to show you how fast you can get started building AI solutions with cognitive services, flexible deployment options that are available to you, and some of my favorite tools. I'm one of the co-chairs for Web Standards Immersive Web Group, and I have two problems that I would like to solve using AI. First, W3C process requires us to have transcripts of our meetings to be open and available for everyone, but manually transcribing meetings is painful. And second, although our process is open, it is not enabling everyone to contribute because we are conducting all of our meetings only in English. Let's see how fast we can get to a solution here. I have a UI ready, which doesn't do anything yet. We will define the click events to get the microphone input stream and transcribe it using the speech service. I have the JavaScript SDK for speech imported in the file. When I start typing, you can see some magic happens. As Eric mentioned, we are announcing the OpenAI service, which powers GitHub Copilot extension that I'm using. Copilot is making automatic code suggestions based on the context of what I'm typing here. What we are creating is an audio configuration object to get the audio stream from the default microphone. We also configure speech with authentication token and Azure resource region. Now we can initialize a recognizer object and run the recognize once async function to make the API call. Based on the API response, we can update the UI with the transcription text. Let's click the microphone icon, and now we can transcribe. You can add transcription solution in more than 100 languages and locales with just a few lines of code. This is great, but we can make our meetings even more inclusive by translating the transcription. With a couple of small configuration changes, we can make a single API call for both transcribe and translate. We use speech translation config object instead of the base class speech config and change the speech recognizer to translation recognizer. Finally, we define our target language for translation. Everything else will work just the same. I want the translation to be continuous, so I will subscribe to recognition events and call the recognizer start continuous recognition async function. Great, now we have the translated transcription. With few more UI changes and language options, we can transcribe multiple languages at the same time. Speech-to-text translation is also available for 100 languages. I'm really amazed how fast I can both add transcription and translation features to a code base and how low latency the speech API is on the cloud. But I'm aware that I have a very fast internet connection, and that might not be the case for all of our meetings. Good news is, I can run the same AI models in a Docker container on my local machine or on an edge device and still have access to the same quality AI models, but with much faster response time. Downloading and running the Docker containers on your local machine is very easy. Let's see if Seth can do it.
I really don't want to let iSQL down. I need to show that doing transcription using Azure Cognitive Services containers works and does not send any audio data out of our networks. To prove that, I've gone ahead and started Wireshark, and I'm tracking a session where I'm looking at every single packet that leaves my machine and goes to Cognitive Services. We're not going to show any keep alives though. All right, step number 2. I'm going to run the actual container using this Docker command. Notice that I'm pulling the container directly from Cognitive Services. I'm adding my billing endpoint as well as my API key, and I'm going to turn logging up really high so we can see everything that's going on. As this gets started, notice that you're seeing some packets going out, basically saying, hey, is the billing endpoint available? But there's no audio data. All right, looks like it started. Now I need to change some of the code in my application. The first thing I'm going to do is I don't need to have any of this token stuff because everything is running locally. So I made this change. We don't need this token object anymore, so I'm going to take it out. And then I'm going to change one line of code. Instead of pointing to an authorization token, I'm going to point to the local host container. All right, looks like this rebuilt. Let me go ahead and hit refresh over here. And now let's give this a try. Testing the container. Notice that there's a ton of stuff happening over here, but there are 0 packets over here at all. There's none of the audio file, none of the audio data is leaving this container at all. Now, if we wait a second, you're going to see that the container is going to send usage metrics back to Azure. We'll wait a second to see that happen. There it is. Notice it just said it's reporting a meter usage of 2 units, and that's all it sent. With all of the stuff going on, all of that audio data, notice none of it left our network, and we were able to show how we could successfully move our speech-to-text service on premises while ensuring that none of our audio leaves the network. Hopefully I've made you proud, iSQL. Back to you.
Thanks, Seth. I am very proud. Being able to run these models anywhere is unbelievable. But what happens if you need to customize our base models to add your product name or terminology specific to your industry? With new Speech Studio, I'm able to customize speech models to recognize words like HoloLens and WebXR that we use all the time in our meetings. You can upload just plain text to train your models or audio data with human-labeled transcription. You can optionally also add a dictionary of pronunciations specific to your use case. When you test custom models, you get visual feedback and error data rates. You can compare the improvements in iterations of your model. When it is time to deploy, you can deploy custom models right on the speech portal. Anyone who's running the API locally in a container can add the model ID parameter to the Docker run script. Optionally, you can add the model ID in your speech configuration object. With Cognitive Services, you can add AI capabilities to your applications in no time with no AI expertise. Customize and deploy AI models on the speech portal without writing any code. We are dedicated to bringing our services to containers to enable customizable AI experiences on the edge and on the cloud. Back to you, Eric.
Thanks, iSQL. That was a really great demo. And Seth, it's great to see your cameo in that. Nice job with that.
I know. I try to do the right things. It was fun working on a demo with iSQL. I think the coolest thing for me was that how easy it was to actually put AI into an application. I mean, there was a couple of lines and things were just working. Okay, well, I think we should take a question from the audience. Can we see one of the questions? Okay, here's the question. What happens to the data we upload to customize Cognitive Services? Does Microsoft store or use that data? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when we're talking about data, like this is sacred from our customers. Do we use those to do cognitive services?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's a question we get all the time. Data privacy and security is a very sensitive subject, and we at Microsoft understand that fully. The data that you upload is not accessible even to us as the product team. So these remain your property, and it's only used to customize your models. Nobody else gets access to that data, and no other models learn from that data.
Well, hopefully that helps everyone sleep better. At least it does for me, and it's true. We have no access to your data because it's your data. Okay, perfect. We talked about some of our turnkey AI services. What do we have for folks who want to build their own custom models, say the bottom of the stack?
Sure. So the next layer of these is the base of all of these AI capabilities that we've heard about so far, the machine learning platform. So Azure Machine Learning is the core ML platform powering all of the models that we use across our full AI portfolio. Not only just for Azure, it also forms the core of the ML capabilities within Bing, Office, and Windows. So within Azure Machine Learning, it's got 3 layers of capabilities. At the bottom, we have powerful compute options, including the integration with Azure Arc for hybrid and for multi-cloud capabilities. Above that, we have the MLOps capabilities right alongside the security and governance features. And then leveraging all of this as the top layer, a seamless studio experience, providing practitioners at all levels the ability to build and deploy models alongside enabling responsible AI tools. So there have been quite a few announcements leading up to Ignite on the ML side. We've added Azure Arc-enabled Kubernetes as an inferencing option to enable hybrid ML deployments. We've also added managed endpoints for batch and real-time inferencing, simplifying the process of operationalizing ML models. We've added expanded automated ML capabilities to include image-based models now. And we've additionally optimized compute environments to now include auto shutdown capabilities and have introduced private IP options for customers looking to secure their ML platform. These are some of the more recent ones from the last 4 to 6 weeks only. And our North Star is to make Azure Machine Learning the best platform for data scientists and ML engineers to create and operationalize ML pipelines at scale. We're making security and governance a core part of our design.
Tell us a little bit about how customers are using Azure Machine Learning.
I mean, enterprises of all sizes have been leveraging Azure Machine Learning for a variety of solutions. FedEx is using it to build their demand forecasting models to assess when and where they need to deploy their resources. Aguazio has built their inventory management model on it to increase customer satisfaction. Nestle implemented a robust supply chain pipeline, including a rich MLOps capability to help keep their ML models updated with new data. And Schneider Electric has a predictive maintenance pipeline using Azure Machine Learning and IoT. And then Scandinavian Airlines is using it to build trust and transparency by detecting fraud early in the process. And those are just a few of the customer scenarios that come to mind sort of off the top of my head. In fact, we had Sonal talk to Johnson & Johnson's earlier, and let's listen in on their conversation.
Welcome, Ketul. It's so great having you here today.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sonal, and it's great to be here as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the business team that you lead at Johnson & Johnson?
Absolutely. I'm part of our consumer health division, and I lead our digital transformation office. At Consumer Health, digital is about unlocking value. It's not just about data. It's not just about an app or technology, but globally connected mindset and a way of working that puts digital at the forefront of all we do to win in our marketplace. We're investing in capabilities to accelerate our digital maturity, and my team is focused on powering our business with end-to-end visibility and near real-time insights, as well as providing various different data and digital solutions that significantly improve our customer and our employee experiences, and in turn help us accelerate our business growth.
So what are some of the solutions that you're building over this common data layer, and how do you leverage AI today?
Yeah, so one such example is rapid demand sensing, right? As you can imagine, the demand in our marketplace, in our consumer health business, has been quite volatile lately, given labor crisis, material crisis, macroeconomic, socioeconomic, pandemic that we're all going through. So a traditional way of looking at demand was more historic demand, historic data, and then a lot of manual inputs that would then predict over time what that demand will look like. Especially in our seasonal business, it has been very difficult to predict that demand given the onset of COVID and the pandemic. So we leverage Microsoft Azure ML and the underlying technologies to be able to sense this demand, remove all of our manual processes, and then replace it with an AI that can then help us create an engine that predicts demand more near real time and more accurately than what we were able to do historically.
What aspects of Azure Machine Learning did you use to overcome this and deliver these accurate forecasts?
Yeah, to tackle the training and inferencing of thousands of models, as you can imagine, we leveraged Azure ML Many Model Accelerator, essentially leveraging the compute clusters that parallelizes and trains and infers various jobs across multiple nodes and multiple cores of the cluster VMs. This approach helps us scale the solution to build, train, experiment, store, use, and maintain the entire life cycle of a large number of models on Azure ML. And this is kind of our new way to move forward, right? So just last month alone, we were able to train very rapidly about 2 million models leveraging this approach. It's a tremendous progress that we were able to make in a very short amount of time. Historically, it would have been next to impossible to have this kind of a scale in all of the other legacy approaches that we had tried before.
What were some of the security aspects that you considered when developing such a large-scale solution?
Indeed. And look, for companies like Johnson & Johnson, security is near and dear to many hearts here. We have very stringent data standards, security standards requirements that we had to go through the entire review process with. We were really glad to partner with Microsoft and our cloud platforms team and our security team to be able to implement various aspects of the internal standards that we now have implemented. We leverage our private endpoints to limit access to people within J&J network, right? So some of this data is quite sensitive, quite confidential, and we did not want people outside of our network accessing this. And we extended that to various dependent services like storage account, Key Vault, etc. Our compute instances and clusters were VNet injected. We leveraged managed identity for accessing AML clusters. And we built specific RBAC models to address least privileged access model. Suffice it to say that we've put very tight security architecture around all of these instances and all of this entire architecture. And this is really helping us scale this in a much more responsible way without having to worry about any other security compromises that could have happened if we didn't partner together very tightly with our teams.
What would you say was the business impact of this solution then for Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, so look, demand sensing, right, as I mentioned earlier, we are in an era where there are so many market dynamics at play. It is becoming increasingly difficult for us to predict supply situation, our consumer demand, market dynamics, shipping crisis of nature as an example. We were able to use and leverage all of the capabilities that we talked about and really improve our forecasting up to 30% in our seasonal products. It's an amazing achievement in a very short amount of time. It results in millions of dollars of inventory reductions, millions of dollars of slow-moving and obsolete product reductions, right? Improving our balance sheet, our profit and loss statements. But more importantly, it gets our products where it needs to be, when it needs to be, right? Ultimately delighting the customer, the consumer, who are looking for our products in those stores when they go and shop for it, whether it's online or in person.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ketal.
Thanks a lot. Glad to be part of this team.
Thanks so much, Ketal, for joining us at Ignite. We really look forward to Johnson & Johnson's journey on their digital transformation.
I mean, that was kind of amazing.
Kind
the
of.
sheer number of models that they're building for their businesses, how they're digitally transforming with those models and how their security needs are being met. It's pretty impressive.
It's definitely.
All right, so just changing gears a little bit here. Machine learning is a very involved workload, and it takes time to build a good practice around it, from what I hear.
Yes.
What are we doing to make this process easier for our customers?
I should probably be asking you that question. You used to be a developer advocate before you switched jobs. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, our teams are creating a lot of avenues for our customers to get started and build a good practice around AI and machine learning. Just to give you a glimpse of what we enable, you heard Johnson & Johnson talk about the Many Models Accelerator. So that's one of the many solution accelerators that we make available on GitHub. The team also publishes a lot of samples on machine learning for customers to use as they build out their projects. And we've recently published the well-architected framework for Azure Machine Learning. All this beyond the certification and training programs on Azure.
The well-architected framework is an amazing concept, and Azure gives some really good principles that we should follow. Can you give us some more details?
Sure. So the well-architected framework, or the WAF for short, is a set of guiding tenets that can be used to improve the quality of a workload. And so this has been in place for some Azure workloads, and we're now adding it for machine learning onto that list. And so as part of the ML WAF, customers can take a short questionnaire around their current setup. Then this information is compared against the best practices within the industry, and then a report is generated to inform the customer about the health of the system that they're building. And this report contains prescriptive guidance for teams to understand the gaps, if any, and the steps to take to fill them. And this is also available in the form of a best practices repository for customers to leverage for their solution designs.
The WAF, well-architected framework, the principles are certainly there to help people use the best practices and enterprise and help them to really equip their teams. Well, I think we've talked enough about machine learning. I kind of want to see a solution in action. Let's take a look at a demo that Beatriz recorded for us showcasing the ML platform.
In this demo, I'll be showing you 3 features that will help you be more productive with your machine learning tasks. First, I'm super excited to show you how you can use Terraform to manage your Azure machine learning resources. This is a new feature, and it's now in public preview. After that, I'm going to show you how you can automate machine learning training and deployment using GitHub Actions. And last, I'm going to show you how you can use App Insights to easily analyze your custom logs. Let's get started. Imagine that I work for a manufacturing plant and was asked to put together an automated solution that will help us detect defects in our assembly line. I did some research and learned that the most common cause of defects is a loose connection in a circuit board. So I decided to focus on solving this particular problem first. I first collected a bunch of data that contains both connected circuit boards, like this one, and unconnected circuit boards, like this one. Then I created a model that can distinguish between the two, and it's just a ResNet 18 computer vision model. And I can train this model locally on my machine with a small data set, but I really want to train it with a large data set for better accuracy. And for that, I'm going to need a cluster of GPUs and the power of the cloud. My company uses services from different cloud vendors, so we've been using Terraform to manage those services. I'm excited that now, with Azure Machine Learning's recent public preview, I can use the same Terraform declarative language I already know to manage my Azure Machine Learning resources. Let's take a look. To make it easier to start creating Azure resources using Terraform, Microsoft has provided us with several quick start templates. In my scenario, I'm specifically looking for machine learning resources, and so I have 3 templates available to me. I have this basic template, have this other template that adds some security resources, and this one that works with my existing security resources. In my case, I don't have any security resources already created, but I definitely want security, so that I'm going to go with this one. I'm just going to show you here some of the resources that it creates. So here we can see where it creates the Azure Machine Learning workspace, which is here. And we can also see where it creates a virtual network with 3 subnets. I've already downloaded these files to the Terraform folder of my project. Now I just need to execute 3 commands that I'm very familiar with because I'm an experienced Terraform user. You can see my Terraform files here, already created. And then from the same directory, I first initialize Terraform. Then I make an execution plan. And finally, I apply the plan. Once the plan is applied, the resources are created and I can see them on the Azure portal. I can look at my resource group that just got created. And within that resource group, I can see my machine learning workspace. And I can also see, I should be able to see my virtual network also, which is here. And also the subnets. Okay, so now that I have the foundational resources created, I want to train my model in the cloud using Azure ML. I'm now using a machine that has access to my secure workspace, and I need to create a few more resources that will help me with training and deployment, which I do using YAML configuration files. For example, this file creates my dataset, this file creates my job, so it actually executes the training code. And once the training completes, then I have a trained model, so I want to register that model with Azure with this file. And then I want to create an endpoint, which I do with this file. And I could create each of these resources using AZML commands in the CLI. But that would get repetitive over time because every time I change some code, I need to remember to execute the right command. To automate this process, I decided to create a GitHub workflow. And this workflow contains all these AZML commands as GitHub actions. Then whenever I make a change and I push it to the main branch, and these actions get executed in sequence. For example, if I go here, let's check that in. And here you can see my workflow on GitHub, and you can see what got triggered when I checked in. So let's see what's happening. So you can see lots of things happen in this workflow, including running the job, registering the model, and adding a deployment or an endpoint. Once this process completes, I check the Azure ML Studio to make sure that my resources were created. So here you can see the model that got created. Here you can see the endpoint. And if we go to experiments, then you can see the training run. Now I can make a prediction using my custom model in the cloud by invoking the endpoint. I can invoke it using an HTTP request or an AZML command. I'm going to pass this image as input, and I'm going to invoke the endpoint using this command. And there you go. The model accurately predicts that the circuit board is unconnected. Now let's take a look at my score file, which contains the code that gets executed when the endpoint is invoked. You can see that I'm logging some pretty important metrics here. I have a payload here with lots of information, which then I print down here. I'd like to see the results of this logging. One option is to go to the endpoint and look at the deployment logs. You can see here that I have my payload with all the information that I printed in the score file. And this is fine while I'm developing the app, but it's not the best interface to analyze the large number of requests I'm going to get once the app is in production. A much better way is to look at App Insights. So let's go back to the Azure portal. This is my resource group, so I'm going to find my machine learning workspace, and then I'm going to click on Application Insights. And I'm going to click on Logs, and then here I'm going to type the following. Then I'm going to click Run. And here's the result. So if I go to my content, I can see here my payload and everything that I printed within my scoring file. In this demo, I've shown you 3 features that will increase your productivity when working with Azure Machine Learning. I used Terraform to create Azure ML resources. I used GitHub Actions to automate model training and deployment. And I used App Insights to analyze custom logs. I do hope that you'll give these features a try. Thank you.
That was awesome, B. Thank you so much for that demo.
Yeah, it was really great. Good to see so many of the IT pro pieces in that demo, the Terraform, the security management, the monitoring. And this is what makes Azure Machine Learning such a great end-to-end machine learning platform.
Absolutely. And I think it's time for us to take another quick question from the audience, this time on machine learning. Here's the question. We mentioned MLOps a few times, but what does it actually mean, and how does Azure Machine Learning help implement it? You want to take a stab at this?
Yes, great question. MLOps is really, it's the union of people, processes, and products. And you take those and use those 3 to enable the continuous delivery of value to our end users with machine learning. So the people and process part, like that really points to creating the right culture in your organization. And then Azure Machine Learning, which is the product part in this 3-legged stool, it offers the ability to apply MLOps practices to your machine learning pipelines with DevOps or GitHub Actions, alongside data drift detection and data or model version capabilities.
I think that's awesome. Okay, so I think we spoke about how our customers are using Azure AI to build state-of-the-art and production-ready AI solutions. We also understood how Azure AI is helping everyone across skill levels, cognitive services, and applied AI services for developers, Azure ML for data scientists and ML engineers, and Power Platform for the citizen developer audience. One aspect we did not cover from the enterprise requests so much really is responsible AI. What do we have on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. Responsible AI is super important to the work that we do. Given the time, this was really about as much as we could cover. But for Responsible AI, we'd love to invite the audience to a dedicated virtual event that we're hosting on December 7th. You'll get to hear a lot more about our Responsible AI practices and how we're enabling enterprises to adopt these practices with tools and guidance around Responsible AI. Do join us for the event.
I know I'm excited to go myself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot in the last 40 minutes or so. Any final thoughts, my friend?
You're right. We have covered a lot of ground. And really, I want to close right back where we started. Azure AI is built with productivity, production readiness, and responsible AI practices at its core. No other AI platform offers the depth and breadth of what Azure offers. And with Azure AI, you can innovate from anywhere, from hybrid, multi-cloud, and to the edge. Here are some resources for you. And please look at the Learn collection for this session for all the content relevant to this talk. Thank you.